Have you been paying attention? Are you ready? Are you watching? The Calgary real estate market has changed, and honestly, it feels like it's changed overnight. Over the last couple of weeks, we're going to go through Krebs stats, but over the last couple of weeks, things have changed. And we're going to talk about that, what we're seeing on the ground. And I am joined by the wonderful co-owner of Chamberlain Group, Rebecca Chamberlain.
Good morning.
How are you today?
It's good. Yeah, it is on fire, it does feel like it's changed overnight and that everybody's coming to Calgary.
It's true. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's jump in. We're going to talk about a couple things. One, what are we seeing in this market? Two, we're going to talk about the stats, some of the things that we have pulled from the Krebs information, which is almost feels outdated, I will be honest, because the market has changed so quickly. And number three, we're just going to talk about some articles that we've seen, or at least one that we were part of, and just kind of dive into that. So let's start. What are you seeing in the market? What are you seeing when you are working with clients right now in this market?
So it probably started in December over Christmas. We started getting a lot of calls from people from Ontario.
Yeah.
And hello to you if you're watching today. Yeah. It has been an interesting conversation as far as people are interested in what's happening in Calgary. The prices here are a lot lower than they are in Ontario and BC. And so they're interested in coming, and some of it's job related and some of it is now they can work from home, so they're excited to move to Calgary.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it was about June last year, we were in the Calgary Herald, and we were talking about this weird feeling that we had of people that just continuing to come from Toronto or hearing these calls or getting this, and it's just been super interesting to watch over the last, let's call it 8 months.
Yeah.
Of just this transition that we're seeing. And what's happening is, let's just jump into the article here, and I'm just going to put this up. But we'll jump into this article because what's happening is people are moving here from other areas of the country where they have equity, and they've had equity growth in their properties, or they've saved up a down payment. And what that's doing is, this is like the first time that for since in our 18-ish plus years of doing real estate, where we have seen a boom tied, not even a boom, just an increase tied not to oil and gas, right?
Yeah, and I think that for Calgarians, I mean, I had buyers. I feel like January is always a slow month. It's cold. People are recovering from Christmas. They don't, tend to, even if they were active in December, they tend to kind of put everything on pause.
Yeah.
I think this year, probably half of Calgary had COVID too with a new variant, and of all of a sudden, so it's cold, and people started calling the Calgary buyers. But it was kind of like, the market is drastically changed because we're seeing people come from Ontario, and they're used to these multiple offers types of situations, and the shortage of supply. I mean, we are sitting at a supply that is less than a month, and we should be sitting at minimum 3 to 4 months
where it could be comfortable.
Yeah, it's comfortable, and as a buyer, you're feeling like, I need to see the property right away, and that creates an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, well, and it's created a lot of I don't want to say chaos, or it could also create just frustration for people who were looking last year and were planning on making a move, didn't find the home, and are now going, what is happening? Especially in certain areas, because it seems like this is much more of a suburban boom than inner city right now anyways, right?
And I think some of that is dependent on like supply and demand. You get a bigger lot, which and space, and the downtown hasn't had the same draw that it has had in many years. As well as I think though you're seeing there is some more new construction in like infills and things like that, where we are builders have already accounted for their prices. I'd say most builders across the board in December and November increased their prices by $30,000 to $60,000, and that's a range, and it could have been more, could have been less, but that all of a sudden that pressure put price pressure on resale homes. And let's be honest, we haven't seen a huge increase in Calgary since 2015. Like, it's been a long time. So, there are people that finally can sell and are excited about selling because of just the increase.
Well, and when I've been talking to individuals about what's happening, you hear these mixed stories. You hear some people like, this is just gonna go up and then crash. Other people are going, finally, Calgary is being seen on the national stage of what we actually are. And yeah, if our average prices can go up to 700, like, it'll probably stay there.
Yeah.
So we keep hearing these mixed messages. Where's it going? I have no idea.
Right. If we had a crystal ball, and
I'd go buy probably 14 properties this morning. Go fight everybody for them, or sell everything, right?
Yeah.
Or go to the opposite, right?
I think that often, it's just a new time, and even I tell people, like in Ontario, they're still, and my understanding is in lockdown. In Alberta is quite free to kind of move around in this time. So I remember last May when it felt like Calgary's long lockdown, April, it felt like all people could do was buy real estate in order to skip the dishes. So maybe now that's what they're doing, but I think there's also people.
But now they're window shopping.
Yeah, they're window shopping
for
online.
Properties.
Yeah, and but I think the difference is lots of Calgarians are saying, well, don't let the investors buy it up, and we are seeing actual real people that are coming and buying it. They are making the move themselves, so it could be an investment for them, but it's really. The mass exodus happened about 5 years ago of people leaving Calgary, and now they're coming back.
Yeah, I would almost say for those that are watching, because when I'm responding to emails and responding to direct messages and all that kind of stuff, and I've talked to many people that watch this and who are making that move here, and it's been interesting. I would say for every one investor, there's like 1.5 or maybe 1.75 of the people are actually moving here.
Right.
And maybe they've come from rentals, or they've come from owning a place, and they're just making the change, and it's better for their family and all that kind of stuff. And so, but I guess what does that mean for the local Calgarian? Somebody who's been saving up, their 5 or 10% coming out of rental, and they've got 40,000 maybe saved up, and we're planning on, finally we can go buy our first property. It is a real thing that you might get priced out of what you can afford. And that's that type of buyer. But then you have the other type of buyer who has a property here. Right. And you obviously don't want to be homeless.
Right. And their house, and for every homeowner, your house is going up with the market. So, and I think that the true key in this, and I talk to clients all the time, is to have a plan. I think that it is exciting to sell your house because we haven't seen this amount of increase in a really long time. And so I think there is, the opportunity there to, take the equity that you have in your home now and buy something else, but really have a plan so you're not homeless. And that franticness, because that's what it feels a little bit is there's just a large energy in that. So and the other thing too is it can be scary. You can, when you're making that change and you're planning on, you don't sell before you know where you're going to go. That can be really, really tough because inventory is so low. But it can be scary, especially if you've been in Calgary a long time, because we haven't seen this before. You don't really feel like you can trust the market in terms of, oh yeah, there is an extra 50 grand or 30 grand or 100,000, and depending on the areas. Like all of a sudden it's like, that's there. It's okay. Like trust that this is happening and that it's going. So if you find that next place, like just trust the system. And you need a plan. So I saw it, someone else posted, get ready before you're actually ready.
Absolutely.
So to casually house shop is very tricky. You need to know what your house is, worth, speak with an agent, understand what you're buying, kind of, have your pre-approval. In lots of it, we're working with short condition dates, sometimes no condition dates.
Yeah.
So you can't, it's exciting to look at homes, and it's just, you kind of do it as a fun activity. This feels, now there's a lineup, and it's a whole different experience.
Yeah. There's a lot of memes going around, and I wish I had some to share, but there's a lot of those where it's like lineup of, home buyers in Calgary and the shelves are empty kind of thing. And that's the feeling.
But right? It's all in North America. I think that we need to also talk about that, is that this is happening.
Shortage of supplies.
Yeah.
Inventory everywhere is low.
Yeah.
And I think a part of that is just everyone's trying to figure out what's next.
Yeah.
Anyway. That's what's happening. But let's talk about some of the stats. And so these are the market stats that we've come up with, that we pulled from Krebs, and just kind of show you these numbers. But we'll talk about this, but we also want to talk about what we're seeing out there too, because when we're looking at year over year type stats like this for the whole city, a lot of the stuff, the increases that has happened in the last little bit, it honestly feels like it was like January 10th, 15th, 20th, somewhere in there. All of a sudden it changed. And so right now, the Calgary benchmark price for the whole city is $472, which is up about 11.5% over last year. And we had 2,000 sales, which is up 66% last year. And so that means we had 2,400 new listings come on the market in January, which is great. Not enough, but it's great. And why I say not enough is because of the current demand that's happening. It's not enough. But the inventory dropped 35%. And so that's 2,600 properties available that were available in January there. And the detached house went up 13% year over year. So that now is just slightly under $560,000. And the total number of sales, so out of the 2009 sales that happened, 1,100 of them were detached houses. Okay, so just get an understanding of that. And that is actually up 56%. So you have to remember, we were coming last January, mid-December, we had a lockdown, and January last year was also slower.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like slow, but it definitely was
People were pausing.
Yeah, it was a ramp up into this year, right? And so we're comparing a ridiculous January to a slower January, right? Semi-detached houses, the benchmark price is $440, 12% over last year. Only 199 of those sales, so basically 200 of the 2,000, so about 10% of the properties that sold were semi-detached, and it was 42% higher than last year. So there was only about 100 and let's call it 20 or so sales last year compared to this year. Townhouses, 305 benchmark price, 305 sales. Oh, look at that. Yeah. That's the same number. But that's 100% increase. 100%, it doubled. And to me, go ahead.
Oh yeah, when we're seeing the prices of townhouses increase quite a bit because
it will.
Yeah, and they are we've seen a couple multiple offers in that situation, which again, depending on when you bought your townhouse, I mean, it's a positive. Thing.
Yeah, and this is definitely one of the areas of the city to watch,
right, in
terms of what it could happen. Just because, again, this is what we were talking about. If those buyers that were okay to purchase something around that $450 for a starter home, all of a sudden, if the prices are going up, like your down payment isn't going up at the rate of the increasing of the properties, right? And so you're not saving as quickly. And so if you're on a fixed and that's your top, well, all of a sudden you have to adjust what you're looking at purchasing.
Right.
Now, should you not buy? I don't think that's the right answer. I think getting into the market is good, and getting into some of this type of product is really smart, and if it's in the right areas, because you're gonna end up, it's gonna go up. It was along with everything else. There's a wave of a tide,
and
right?
and it's the construction increase. So some of that is tied to that, because you're just seeing there's a shortage and we don't see so then everything is just a little bit more expensive.
Yeah. All right, and then down to apartments. So 250,000 is the benchmark price, only 2% higher, but 357 sales. Compared to last year, which is a nearly 100% increase as well. So that has doubled. So these are the two areas, townhouses and apartments.
We're suspecting we'll see some growth and positiveness. I have a couple condos listed, and it's very ebb and flow. But again,
is there anything around the location of them, or
they're inner city? So one being in Mission and one being in South Calgary. There's still quite a bit of supply there. I think too, condo shopping is a little bit trickier to do when it's minus 30. So I find that sometimes showings is indicative of weather. This week it was a lot slower than last week, but again, we're just kind of watching this info unfold.
Yeah, it is very interesting. And so is there any advice that you have for buyers and sellers that you want to give that's really important in this market? Because we're in a changing market again, where, I think last year we kind of, or 2 years ago, it was like, oh, slow down, and then it was coming back. But now we're on a different level, it feels like, right?
Right. And we are starting to see more properties come on the market. And I think my advice to sellers and buyers is be ready before you're ready. So reaching out and having a plan. Always happy to chat about those plans and our team as far as when would be the best time to put my property up for sale. I think there's lots of properties, lots of rentals, and lots of things that are coming on the market that, even though it's a hot market, are not getting the right attention or the multiple offers just because they weren't positioned properly. So I think positioning is so key in this time. And so I would encourage anyone not to you can't just window shop anymore. You need to be ready before you're ready.
It's true. And the other thing too is if you're curious about what home values are doing in your area, reach out to us, because as a Calgarian who has a property here, it is changing, and this might be a great time for you this spring to make that change, because now all of a sudden there's some equity in that property. Yeah, you might have to fight for your house on the other end, but you have some equity there. So it might be worth making that change now. And so reach out to us, info@chamberlaingroup.ca, 587-316-5400. We can set you up on a home beat. We can show you what some properties are doing in your area. I mean, for example, there was, we just shot a video the other day where it was talking about some of the areas like Tuscany, Nolan Hill, and Mahogany, where we actually looked at 2,000 roughly square foot homes, and the median price compared to last summer has actually gone up like $100,000 to $130,000 to what it's selling today. And so that's pretty crazy. And so I'm not saying that your home has gone up that much. What I'm saying is it's changed, and it's just the land, the value, what people's perception of the Calgary is here, and it's changing, and this could be a great time to do this. So if you have any questions, reach out, and
have a wonderful day.
Have a wonderful day. We'll see you guys.
Goodbye.